They look like the universal strength and conditioning languages that are across every country on the planet. I've been to a lot of countries. I've been to 35 different countries. It's not a lot. I'm getting there. But everyone knows what a push-up is. Everyone knows what a deadlift is.
Yeah.
And when I'm in countries where we don't speak the same language, we always speak front squat.
So was this where I have it written down? Where is it? It was in Tim Ferriss's book. You mentioned how athletes should be able to power clean, backflip, run marathons, do CrossFit, etc. Is that where this comes from? It's like are there physical benchmarks you think all athletes should do? Do we take it basics to hip hinge, rotate to certain degrees? Just sit down and get off the floor without having to put your hands down, or do we? How far into this do we need to go before we have like a range of characteristics that all people should be able to do before they get into sports?
It's a real question around how can we. So let's look at what we've traditionally done. If we look at the United States and youth sports, kids can do none of those things, but they can play soccer, right? They can play. So the question then is, what's important? And the most important thing is that people play. They learn skills best when they play. We learn how to interact and win and lose when we play and win and lose. We learn how to work in a team. We get to the self-discovery through play. And play in the United States has become synonymous with sport, right? That we can say those two things. We have never put movement competency in front. But what we see is that kids who happen to be competent movers, maybe had some gymnastics instruction, something like that, they tend to be able to pick up new skills more quickly, create more movement solutions for themselves, potentially, and they may be more durable, being able to handle more in volume, et cetera, et cetera. One of the reasons to have a strength program, and again, appropriate for the age and for the skill set, is that you're running a parallel diagnostic tool all the time. Your range of motion and skill is a finite, changeable, malleable resource. Greg Cook says, you're always pressing save on a Word document that's everly changing. Your range of motion is constantly in flux. Okay, and so one of the reasons we ultimately want all our position coaches, sports coaches, to understand what they're seeing. My athlete is behaving this way in the water. She is missing internal rotation on her shoulder. I then can go over here, improve or restore her range of motion, give her some movements to maintain it, and then put her back in the pool. That's very difficult to do. And what we saw was a whole host of problems result from that inability of the coach to minister to the needs of their athletes in real time. We saw an epidemic and are continuing to see an epidemic of lower extremity injuries in soccer players, and especially in women who are tearing their ACLs at 6 to 8 times the rate of men. We've seen the ACL rates skyrocket after the pandemic. So what I'll say is what we're currently doing isn't working. What we're currently doing is putting a bunch of kids into play and then adding crazy volume, crazy intensity, crazy year-round sport. So one of the things that FIFA did was say, okay, hang on a second. This is a real problem for existentially for our culture. Let's create a really simple jump safety mechanics program. And what they found was that people who did that, I think it took 15 minutes, like 3 times a week, 15, 20 minutes, 3 times a week, very simple hopping drills. They saw a massive reduction in lower extremity injuries. Even if you did the program poorly, the exposure alone did it.